Welcome to the Hot Chicks Write Hot Books podcast with Jen Foster and Melanie Johnson, where authors give you their inside secret tips on how to be a successful best-selling author. Jen Foster and Melanie Johnson. Today we have the privilege to interview Melodie Rush, who she specializes in taking technical things and making it simple for us simple folks so we can understand it and we can improve our businesses and help make our businesses successful. She is the CEO of My MVP, and she has done over 1,000 webinars. She's like the webinar guru. We are so lucky to have her today. She lives in Colorado with her husband, who's her business partner, and she has 2 spoiled cats that live with her too. So Melodie, welcome. Tell us about yourself and how you got started writing.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, how I got started writing, I actually attended a Mike Keaning's event a couple of years ago and was intrigued because he was talking about how writing a book would help you build your expertise and get your message out. And I guess it really struck me that a book can be your business card. So I had never really thought about writing a book before. That wasn't anything I really wanted to do. Actually, I've been approached from somebody a couple of years ago to write a book, and I was like, nope, not going to do it. So it's kind of funny that I, was attracted to that and decided to write a book based on being at that event and seeing people around at that event that had written books. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Awesome.
What was what did you use to start to writing? What was your technique to get the words on the page for you?
Okay, so I actually have a full-time job where I develop a lot of content. And so I kind of have some different methods I've used over the years to create content. But I decided for this that I would go out and research what were the most popular questions being asked about webinars. And then, because I've done so many of them over the years, I know what people should be asking. So I made up a list, and my goal was like 21 questions, and I ended up with like 30-some, overachiever sometimes. Oh, wow. And then I found a person in one of my mastermind groups that agreed to partner with me and co-write the book. And so what happened is we did a webinar, and he interviewed me, and I answered the questions, and he threw in some additional answers in there. So he's the co-author on the book, Carl Stearns. So that's how we went about getting the content put together, was through the webinar, and then I had that transcribed and edited, and we did some edits and rearranged it a little bit because what goes well for being interviewed doesn't necessarily flow well for reading. So we did a couple of edits on it, and that's how we came up with the book and the content for the book.
Awesome. So tell us more about how you got started in your expertise. How do you go about doing your job, your full-time job you were talking about?
Yeah, so the way I got really into doing, presentations to start with, when I got the job, or I interviewed for the job I have, one of the requirements was to do a presentation. So I had to do a presentation in front of a group of people I thought were experts because they worked for the company, and I had to do a presentation on that software. It's a software company. I was terrified. I actually was in tears one day, and my husband was like, "What is wrong with you? You don't even need this job," because I had another job lined up, and I had gone in for this just because I thought it would be good experience for me to interview. And I'm like, "But I really want this job." That's what I was talking. And he goes, "Well, what's the problem?" I'm like, "Well, I can't figure out how do you present to people that are experts. How do you present their stuff to them, kind of thing." And he's like, "Well, just tell a story." And I'm like, "Okay, I can tell a story." So that's what I did. The funniest thing about it is they asked me before, when they asked me to do the presentations, they were like, "Are you going to use PowerPoint?" Which now seems like a silly question, but this was 20 years ago. And I'd never seen PowerPoint, never touched it. And of course my response was, yes, I'll use PowerPoint. So not only did I have to come up with a presentation and do a public speaking gig for this interview, I had to figure out how to use PowerPoint and present using PowerPoint.
Oh my God.
So that's really how I got started. Now, how I got started doing webinars was really just out of necessity. I got into a job at one point where there was only a couple of us that were technical, and we were supporting basically the world. And so we couldn't do multiple presentations because we just didn't have enough time in the day. And so we decided, well, we're just going to set up one webinar every week and I would do it one week, and she would do it one week, and we would send the invitation to the account reps, and they could send it out to all the customers. And so that's how we really got started doing webinars, because we didn't have a choice. That was the only way we were going to make it work.
Right.
And then at another time, I got in another role where I helped start a new group. It was an academic group, and we needed to reach, again, a lot of people, but I was the only technical person. So again, we utilized webinars and that, and this was a few years later, so we were able to utilize our web team and get invitations on the web and get the replays and all that kind of stuff. So I've been very, very fortunate to have some expertise to help, or experts to help me with some of the other pieces, but I actually started webinars out of necessity. So.
Awesome. Awesome. So you just took what you knew, and then you wrote the book about that.
Exactly.
Awesome.
What would be some writing tips for other authors that they want to get started? Like, what were some of your things that you would give other people to start writing their book?
Yeah, I think there's several ways to go about it. First, like I said, I came up with questions. I just kind of went out and researched, Googled some things to see what would come up. And so you could come up with 10 questions or 15 questions. You don't have to do 30-some like I did. Like I said, I'm a little bit of an overachiever. Or myths, sometimes just even talking about the myths of your particular topic. You could also go out and interview experts that's in your area of expertise, and then you could use that for a chapter. Each expert could be a chapter in your book. Or you could even repurpose content you already have. So if you're already writing a blog or doing a podcast or something like that, you could take that content and turn that into your book. So those are some of the quick and easy ways to get some content going for a book.
Mm-hmm. So now that you have your book, what would you say are like the do's and don'ts to writing, to getting your book out there?
Sure. The first thing, get started. Just forget all your fears and everything that's going on in your life and just get started. Like I said, I work a full-time job. I travel in my job at least 50% of the time. And so I really made a commitment a couple of years ago to do something every day. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that means I do 5 minutes, and sometimes I find when I get started, even when I'm tired or, wore out or want to do something else, when I get started, it might be 2 or 3 hours just because I get into it and really enjoy what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So my first tip is just get started. And then the second tip...
I'm sorry, do you think that helped you get over your fear by writing some every day and just doing something?
Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of fear of creating a book. I more had a lack of time, and so that was more my thing. Is I could use that excuse. I don't have time. I've got all this other stuff to do. But by just saying I'm going to do 5 minutes a day, I just kept moving forward. So that would be my second tip: is to take action every day, whatever that means to you, what that looks like for you. And then the third thing I would share is don't let people who have not or will never write a book discourage you. Mm-hmm. Don't let the people that don't know, they're the ones that are going to come up to you and go, oh, you can't do it, or you're not an expert, or somebody else knows more, or whatever that comes up with that little voice in the back of your head that says you can't do this. Don't listen to it, because anybody can do it. You just have to take action and keep moving forward.
I like that. That's really good.
What did you do to market your book? What are some marketing tips for people getting their book out there?
Well, I did a couple of things. One, like I said, I have a blog, so I put the information on my blog. I also participate in some forums and some Facebook groups and some LinkedIn groups. So find places where people like you or are interested in your subject hang out. And it's not about really going in there and going, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. It's really just going in there and providing useful information. And people will find you because they'll like, who is this person? And they'll go look you up, and they'll find you on LinkedIn, or they'll find you when they Google, your name will come up and the book will come up and things like that. So I haven't gone out and just, done like a book tour or anything like that. I've just kind of used those tips. I'd also say some other things you can do is be sure and put your book in your signature of your email. And so, and I don't have it on every email I send out, but I do have it on any kind of business-like emails, or people that would be in my, tribe, so to speak, to make sure that goes out. And that's just kind of a subtle thing to do. And that's kind of the things I've done. I really haven't, actively went out and bought Facebook ads or any of that kind of things. You could. I just haven't done that yet.
Mm-hmm. Those are some great tips. Those are really good. So those are the ways you market it. So is there any other ways that you get people to buy your book? So you have your blog, and you have the Amazon author page, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you just let people know. What about offline? Do you do any kind of offline stuff where you let people know you're an author?
I haven't yet. I mean, when my book first came out, I sent an email to my list, which I didn't have much of a list then, but I did send it out to the few people on there. I also posted it in my Facebook feed because I'm pretty active on Facebook, so I have a lot of friends there, and that's where they find me, and in some groups on Facebook. So I've done those kind of things. I need to do some more of that, but I haven't gone offline and done very much yet.
So tell us, Melodie, what has happened to you since you've written your book? How has it improved your business, and what kind of things have come your way since you wrote your book?
Yeah, there's been a lot of fun stuff. I mean, it's a couple of the fun stories I'll tell is that my husband and I have a favorite Chinese restaurant that we go to a couple times a week, and I went in there one day, and one of the waiters came up to me and said, "I got your book, and I read it," and I was like, You got it and read it? I mean, I was just shocked that he actually, one, I was shocked he got it, but two, he read it. And then I actually participated in another book last year with part of my mastermind that was out there, and he goes, "I bought it too, and I'm reading it." So, I mean, it's kind of nice to know that you've influenced people like that. And since then, I've had some other people come out and go, "Oh, you wrote that book. I read it. That was really good." And, it just makes you, it makes you feel good that not only did they buy the book, that they actually read it. So that I really
sharing your knowledge with the world and helping others.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Any other cool business opportunities that open doors for you?
I've actually been asked to be on several podcasts, so I've participated in those, and that's always fun. It's fun to be interviewed. It's fun to talk about the things that you like with other people.
Of course, our podcast too. We invited you on our podcast.
Exactly.
Chicks, right?
Exactly. So I get to meet all these fun people, so it's a lot of fun. Right. I've been asked to, help with several different podcasts, or not podcasts, I said that wrong, webinars. Actually, I do a couple of podcasts too, but that's another story. But I've been helping, some people with their webinars. I've also got a couple of clients I'm helping them with their books, so that's kind of fun too. I actually have a nephew-in-law that's written a book that I'm going to help him publish. It's a children's fiction book, so that's going to be fun to get out as well. Mm-hmm. I had a neighbor call me up that she had she's a photographer, and she had like a what do you call it, coffee table book that it was a hard copy book, but she already had it on Amazon, so I helped her get it to be bestseller. We ran a campaign, so there's been a lot of opportunities like that, and it's fun to help people get recognized, and for them to recognize that I know a thing or two about those kind of things. So
that's awesome. Do you have any funny stories or anything in particular you want to share with everybody about something that happened with your book?
Well, one of the funny things was at Christmas time, my mom, I bought her a new Kindle Fire for Christmas, and so when I'm there, I always configure their computers and all that kind of stuff. So I was configuring our Kindle Fire, and I, just connected it to Amazon, and all of a sudden, all her books are downloading, and all of a sudden my book popped up, and I'm like, "Mom, you bought my book?" She goes, "Yeah, I bought your book." And I was like, it surprised me because she had told me a couple of months before that she didn't buy things on Amazon, that she hadn't bought in a long, like in years. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, "You actually went out and bought the book?" So that was it was just kind of fun, made me feel good. So I got a picture with her and me with the book, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. Why we have you here, Melodie, and you have written this book about webinars, give us some tips for our listeners on webinars, people who might not be familiar with that. Give us some good tidbits from your book to entice some of our listeners to go buy it.
Sure. So, webinars are like any other technology. I think a lot of people have a fear of technology, and you just get better at it the more you use it. But I think that it's true with your book or webinars or whatever, if you're doing a podcast or if you're doing, a blog, be yourself, be who you are, be authentic, and it'll attract the right people to you. As far as the technology with webinars, if you are technical, it's it's just a matter of getting into whatever system you're using and doing it. I always encourage people to do a few practice sessions before you go live. That way you get any of the bugs out, you get more comfortable with it, and that just kind of helps with any of those kind of fears you have if you can get those out of the way.
Melodie, which our podcast listeners can't see this, but everyone on YouTube can see, I had to wear these lovely green headphones because we were having technical problems before we started our show today. So it was good.
I always have a backup plan. That would be the other thing I have. It doesn't matter how many you do. Like I said, I probably need to update my bio because I've realized I've probably done over 1,200 webinars that I've actually presented. I've probably done another 400 or 500 that I've helped facilitate or produce, and I've probably attended twice that many. So I've seen it. I've been on about every system out there. There will be technical problems at some point. I don't care what system you use. I don't care if it's worked for the last 6 months. Something changes with technology, and there will be issues. And I don't say that to scare people. I just say it to be prepared for it. And it is what it is. So have a backup plan. You have your cell phone to dial in. Have a second computer. Whatever it takes, depending on what you're doing, to help you with those kind of things.
That's really good tips.
So what's next for you?
I am actually currently working on a product. The working name, which I think we're going to go with because I've done a couple surveys and people kind of like it, is Webinar Mastery Beginner to Pro. And that should be out by summertime, if not before. I'm down the path on it now, so just depends on how my schedule goes. So I'm looking forward to bringing that out, and then I have plans later this year to write another book. So that's what I'm working on now. And I just started a podcast last week, so staying busy. Lots of stuff going on, but that's my immediate plans.
That's awesome. So tell our listeners why they should become an author, why they would want to write a book. What would you tell them?
I would say you want to become an author because it becomes your business card. It opens doors for you that you never even thought to have open. It's funny to me, people I look up to have called me up and asked me webinar questions, that I didn't even know they knew who I was, which, is kind of nice, very flattering. I've been able to talk to different people that are doing all kinds of businesses and help strategize on how they can use webinars, and it's just really exciting, and it brings you into a world with people like I want to be around, just like-minded people that want to do things. And so writing your book, it gives you confidence maybe you wouldn't have had otherwise, that you are the expert in whatever you're writing about.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, we'd like to invite everyone to go to hotchickswritehotbooks.com and invite you to join Jen and I down in the Dominican Republic. We're doing a book writing camp down there for 1 week. So if you're interested in coming and getting fully immersed and take a week and write your book, and we'll help you launch it and advertise it and market it and try and push it to #1 so you can be a #1 best-selling author as well. Melodie, it was so great having you here with us today. Thank you so much.
Yes,
we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And let's tell everyone where they can get more information about you. What website can they go to, or Facebook?
You can find my book at Deliver Webinars Book. My website is melodierush.com. That's Melodie with an IE. And you can find me everywhere, basically, with my book. If you Google me, you'll find me about everywhere. So
Great. Well, we're so glad to have you. Thank you so much for doing the interview, and we look forward to hearing more and looking forward to seeing your product.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for listening to Hot Chicks Write Hot Books. We love having you on our podcast, and tune in for the next one. We'll see you then. And remember, join us at hotchickswritehotbooks.com, and hopefully we'll see you down in the Dominican Republic at our villa.
For more information, you can visit our website at hotchickswritehotbooks.com, or you can text your name and email address to 832-572-5285.